Da, 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 da. Dun, da, 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 da. Hello, everybody. We are here to review episode 9 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds, Subspace Rhapsody. And I am joined, as always, by my very best friend, the incredibly happy Jason Harding.
Hi. For those people who don't know, we record this seconds after watching the episode. So
Yes,
we
we have
literally
just watched it.
end the episode and then we record this.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the hottest of hot takes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And we've both watched the episode for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
we
this
haven't
is
watched
like-
it before. This is the
Yeah.
first time. This is
Yeah.
our initial gut reactions to episodes. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Steve.
So here's the plot of Subspace Rhapsody. So Spock discovers this thing called a subspace fold that he thinks if they figure out how to do something with it, they can use it to increase the speed of subspace communications. And they're kind of futzing
Mhm.
around with it in engineering, trying to figure out how they can make it work. And somebody says, why don't you try sending it some music? So
Sending
Uhura
music
says,
through it. Because
send music through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Uhura says, okay. So Uhura sends a show tune through it,
Mhm.
and it does a Star Trek thing. And like they get a whoosh, like a Star Trek whoosh that kind of
There's a whoosh that goes through the ship. Yeah.
goes through the ship. And from that point on, it's a musical episode. And Spock explains, well, what had happened was this subspace fold is some kind of quantum nexus that connects to multiple realities. And somehow, because we sent music through it, it connected the Enterprise to a quantum reality where everything works according to the rules of musicals. So as long as we're connected to the subspace fold, we're all going to start singing and dancing, at certain times, just like we're in a musical. And then as the episode goes on, the effect starts to spread like to other ships throughout the subspace network and eventually beyond the Federation. So the big threat of the episode is if they don't stop it, eventually everybody's going to start singing.
Or if the Klingons come and blow it up, it'll blow up the whole part of their galaxy.
That's right. They do. They have, because they come up with what the first plan is. Well, let's just shoot it. Let's just blow up the subspace fold. And then Spock does a test and he's like, no, we can't do that. It'll kill everybody. It'll blow up and the effect will spread. And like everybody who's been affected by it will also explode. So that's a no-go. So yeah. So, and of course we get musical numbers from most of the characters, and people sing, it's like a musical. People sing about their feelings and people sing about what they're going on, what's going on with them in the show at this point. Nurse Chapel gets her fellowship, and so she sings about that, but she also sings about how she now, because she's got the fellowship, she's going to leave the Enterprise, so she is breaking up with Spock, and then Spock has a song about that. And Kirk is here. Kirk has come because, we learned in an earlier episode that Kirk was getting promoted to first officer of the ship he's on right now, the Farragut. So he's come to shadow number 1 to learn how to be a good first officer. So Kirk is here, and La'an still has feelings for Kirk, dating back
How
to
many
the time travel
La'an
episode.
songs did we fucking wind up with? Is it 2?
I think only one that no, there were 2, because she had a Kirk song too, didn't she?
She had a La'an all by herself because she can't open up. Then she had a La'an and number 1 song.
Oh, that's right. She didn't sing to Kirk. She sang to, but that was mostly number 1 doing.
Okay, so she got 2. There were 2 songs. One is sung at her, and one she sings.
One she is singing. Yeah, yeah. So everybody gets, not everybody gets like a solo song or a featured song, but everybody kind of participates in the musical stuff. And Uhura figures out that in order to break free of the effect of the musical subspace fold, they need to do a big all hands on deck finale. And that'll with everybody singing and dancing at the same time, it'll hit like the right frequency, and it'll break everybody out of it. So that's what they do. They do a big musical number at the end about how they all feel at home on the Enterprise, and this is their purpose, and this is what unifies them, being on the Enterprise. And then it works and everybody's free. and Pike and his girlfriend, Captain Batel, had been planning to take a vacation, but now she's like, well, we can't take a vacation yet because I just got assigned to a priority mission. And that doesn't sound, I mean, Pike might want to clear out some space in the fridge is all I'm saying. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Oh, we find out that Kirk can't be in a relationship with La'an.
Because he's with Carol Marcus at the moment.
Well,
and she's got a butt in the oven.
He just found out that she's gonna have a baby, and he like fucking ditches that whole bullshit, doesn't he? Doesn't he? He basically tells La'an his life is complicated.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Anyway, they all sing. The Klingons fucking sing. We all see everybody sing the end.
Everybody, Steve, yes, and you had such a good time watching it. I could tell
this was the longest episode for me. This is one of the longest episodes ever. I think I've ever experienced.
You know what's interesting is, and for anybody who doesn't know, people who watch my stuff regularly already know this, but for anybody who hasn't watched like every single fucking video I've ever made, I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, just in general as a genre.
He's not.
You are a much bigger musical fan.
Not only do I like,
generally speaking,
I like musicals. I've been in musicals.
Yes.
And I've directed a musical that I wrote that is science fiction based. So you'd think, oh boy, I'd love this.
This would be right up your alley. For the most part, I like this episode. You said that this felt like the longest episode. To me, the only bit of it, the only song that really dragged to me was La'an's solo song. That felt like that went on too long. The other songs I thought were okay. I mean, there's nothing about it that made me go, oh man, this is amazing. Like this is like great best episode ever. But for the most part, I thought it was fine. I was entertained by it. Everybody who gets, to sing seems like they can sing. I mean, you said, assuming that it's really them singing. Assuming that it is really them singing, and it sounded
probably
like them.
is. It probably is.
And everybody who sings does a good job. I like the way they sort of, there's an explanation for them singing. So the characters are, it's not like a musical where like the characters sing just because they sing because it's a musical.
Sure.
There's an explanation in the show for why they're singing.
Yeah. There's a musical reality.
Yeah. Like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode where it's like a spell or something like that. It's acknowledged within the story that this is unusual and they know it's unusual. And because of that, like some of the characters are not too nuts about it. Like Captain Pike really seems uncomfortable with everybody singing and with him singing. And, Captain Pike is actually the one who's like, let's just shoot it. Let's just shoot photon torpedoes at it.
Yeah, let's shoot it. Let's make it stop.
And I thought that was well done. And La'an, of course, is not so nervous about the singing per se, but just she doesn't want to reveal too much because people sing about what's in their hearts and people sing about secrets they're keeping. And, people sort of let it all hang out and let it all out in the open when they sing. And she's like, oh, I have feelings for Kirk that I don't want to share. And I'm, the time travel lady came after I came back and said, don't tell anybody about your time travel adventure. And she's afraid she'll sing about that. And so, so there are characters that have like ambivalent feelings regarding whether or not they're going to sing. And, that I think that works fairly well. Actually, the most like sort of emotionally weighty, I guess, scene in the episode that doesn't involve singing is that scene between Kirk and La'an where she finally tells him how she feels and also explains why, like tells him about the time travel stuff and how there was another version of him that she kind of fell in love with. And, and there's no musical number there. Like she just tells him, they just have like a straight scene. And that's where he tells her about Carol and the baby and et cetera, et cetera. And that's a really good scene. A very well acted, well written scene, I thought. Sort of like those characters kind of airing things out, and being like how I feel, but the other guy saying, well, I kind of feel that way too, but it's not going to work out because, this and this. And so I thought that was really well done. I thought it made sense. I was actually wondering, we got so deep into the episode and I started to think to myself, when are they going to give Uhura a song? Because like she's the one who has been established as actually being interested in music and having musical talent. And she's really the last one of the major characters to get a song. And then of course she gets her song on her own in Engineering, where it ends up with her not only sort of figuring out something about herself and reaching like a kind of epiphany about her place on the ship and, you know, her role as the communications officer, but she also figures out what the solution is to the problem. And then she is also sort of the leader of the big finish number. So it makes sense that they kind of build up to Uhura's participation because she is the most musical of the characters. So for the most part, I liked it. Like, I won't say that it's not my favorite episode of the season. It's not my favorite episode of the show. But I didn't think it was, other than La'an's solo dragging a little bit, I really didn't find anything super wrong with it. And I mostly liked it. So there you go. What did you think, Jason? What did you think of it?
In this instance.
Yes.
And I've said this before.
Yeah. Yes.
Please stop putting peanut butter in my chocolate. Sometimes I like peanut butter and chocolate, the Buffy episode that you mentioned before, but that's explained away with magic. This one there is a unreality field, a musical reality that
it's a technobabble explanation.
It's a technobabble explanation, just as an excuse to get them all singing. Right? Boy, oh boy, we need a cue, don't we? Wouldn't it have been great if they encountered some fucking alien that's like, no, everyone's going to sing. That, fine. I get that.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait, hang on. Let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
So if in the TNG episode, if in the TNG episode where they all did Robin Hood,
yes,
right, because they do that.
Not one of my favorite episodes either.
No, no, I know, but they all do Robin Hood because Q makes them do Robin Hood. If instead, you're telling me that if instead of Q making them do Robin Hood, they had fallen into an alternate universe where they were all doing Robin Hood, you would have liked that episode less. I would have, based on that.
If it was an alternate universe where everything was Robin Hood, I'd be like, what is going on here? It makes more sense that a super being is forcing them to do it. And we got that great line. I protest, sir. I am not a merry man.
I'm not a merry man. Okay, so I find it curious that like it affects your reaction to the fact that they're singing, that you're unsatisfied with the explanation for why they're singing.
Here's the thing. It's obvious they wanted to do this episode. And this is what I mean by it's a gimmick episode. They wanted to do it, and they were going to figure out a way so that everyone was singing, right? This very could have well been, they're just, like the non-explanation for why it was during the other gimmick episode, why the characters from Lower Decks were animated and why they ended it animated. There was no explanation between the differences between the two shows. And I thought, oh shit, they could just do a musical and not have any in story explanation. They
very easily could have done that.
They could have done that, but they didn't. They tried to give us a technobabble explanation as to what was happening, which was fine. Here's my honest to goodness. I just didn't like the music. I just didn't like it. It seemed like, okay, so we got a lot of samey sounding songs. And
that's true. Most of them were.
And so while some people may be delighted, oh, look, they're singing now. When I watch these shows, I'm watching for the stories and I'm watching for the plot beats and I'm watching to see what they're going to do with the characters. And we got a lot of songs. And they could have said what they needed to said with 3 lines, but instead we had a 5-minute song for each one of them. And I'm kind of like, and all the songs weren't, can you name the beat of a single song? We just watched this 5 minutes ago.
The only song that stands out to me, and not to the point I can't sing any of it for you, but I just have a clearer sort of picture in my head of it than the others, is number 1 song, because that was in a different style than
I
most
don't
of the other
remember
ones.
number. I don't
That
even
was the one. It
remember
was
that.
more of like a traditional Broadway, because they've established that she
Mhm.
likes Gilbert and Sullivan musicals in a previous episode.
Sure.
So her song was more of like a traditional, like
Which one?
old
She
school
had two of
Broadway.
them. She had one with
Well,
Kirk.
no,
And then
her
she had
one with Kirk, her one with
Okay.
Kirk in the hallway, where
Mhm.
she's singing about get to know the crew and get close to the crew. That was in
Sure.
a different style than
Mhm.
most of the other songs.
Mhm.
So that it stood out for that reason. And it brings up something that maybe is a missed opportunity that touches on what you said about how most of the songs just sound the same.
Mhm.
If it would have been nice if, I mean, assuming they would have had the time to do this, and who knows what the production
Mhm.
schedule was like, maybe they just didn't have the option. But if they could have figured out, okay, if they, they're all singing and they all know they're singing, and we've established that, like, number one's song is a little different than the other, at least her first song, her song with
Mhm.
Kirk is a little bit of a different musical style than the others. What if every character that gets a featured song sings in a style of music that is appropriate for their character?
That
And
takes
like,
time.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that it was just they just didn't have enough prep time to figure out, like, okay, what would
Mhm.
Pike's musical style be? What would Spock's musical style be, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. Because you're right, the songs all do kind of sound
So, I mean,
the same.
overall, the premise isn't what bothers me. What really just bothers me is, and it doesn't really bother me. If people liked it, great. I'm glad you guys liked it. I really am. I just didn't find it terribly engaging. In fact, if I was watching this episode, I would probably skip the songs and go right to where people were talking, because I don't think I would have missed anything by not listening to the songs. I don't think there were any major plot points that were revealed in any of the songs, right?
Not really. Not real. I mean, the La'an telling Kirk how she feels, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean, that's
she
not like a
didn't
huge. And she
she
didn't
didn't
sing.
sing
That's
that,
true. She didn't sing. That's true.
right? She didn't sing it.
Chapel and Spock breaking up.
Cares? We knew they were going to break up anyway.
Well, yeah, but it's still. I mean, I think we feel differently about that. Like, I even though I know what's going to happen, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
affect whether or not I'm interested in it while it's happening.
Yeah.
I did think in terms of the lyrics, I thought Spock's song was probably the best, because there's some wordplay, because he's singing about math and equations, and he's
Mm-hmm.
referring to himself as the X,
Ooh,
both as,
what a
the
stretch.
unknown variable and
We
the ex-boyfriend.
used math equations for Spock's song.
I'm just
Great.
saying they put some thought into, they put some cleverness into the lyrics, which
I'm not
I didn't
saying that
notice
they
that
didn't
as
put
much as in the other
any
songs.
thought
I
into the
appreciated that.
musical numbers, but I just didn't find I like I said, I like musicals. I've been in musicals and I've directed musicals, and I just didn't find this to be a particularly strong episode. It was like, ooh, wouldn't it be fun if everyone sang and danced? Ooh, wouldn't it be fun if I'm sorry, Steve, but there is one thing on here that feels to me like the lowest point of Star Trek.
Tell me.
Of everything that I have watched.
Tell me.
Were the singing, dancing Klingons.
I knew you were going to say that. Why are the singing, dancing Klingons the lowest
so
point
here's
for you?
the thing. Do you remember how hokey and funny Rogers the musical was? Because they were getting everything wrong at the end of Hawkeye. They were showing Rogers the musical.
Yes, that's right.
Okay?
Yes, they did like the musical version of like the end of the first Avengers movie. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was all wrong, and it was all goofy, and it was done on purpose, tongue in cheek, kind of funny
to be like, look how bad this is. Yeah.
I felt like we had slipped into that when they showed the Klingons dressed like solid gold dancers, singing and dancing.
Yeah.
And while that was happening, I looked up who the lead Klingon was. You know who the lead Klingon was?
Was it Hertzler? Was it J.G. Hertzler?
Yes, it was.
I thought it was. I thought I recognized him. I couldn't tell for sure because the makeup, but I thought it was J.G. Hertzler.
Do they regret killing off his character last season? Because he seems to be popping back up a lot this season. Did they tell him beforehand? Oh, no, don't worry. You're going to come back as a Klingon, singing, dancing. You're going to be great. And then also, you're going to come back as a zombie. It's the guy who played Hemmer.
I thought, so it was the guy who played Hemmer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were, I was thinking of like J.G. Hertzler, the guy who played General Martok.
No. That's not.
I thought it was him.
No, that man is way
Horak.
too skinny. We've seen
Bruce Horak.
Yeah,
Bruce
Horak. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, good for him.
I think it was just, it was one of those things. I probably never watched the episode again. Was it terrible? No, but I was just kind of bored, and I didn't particularly like the musical numbers. If was it funny? Yeah, parts of it were funny, but it was just, what's the next episode? Are we going to go right back into dark again?
Oh,
I don't even
probably. I mean,
know.
because they planted the seed in the first episode about the Gorn, and they sort of foreshadowed that Batel is going on some super important mission, and there's only one episode left, and they haven't gotten back to the Gorn stuff yet. So I assume it's going to be like, a super serious Gorn related episode.
Yeah, maybe this has all been set up for some big Gorn thing next season. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because we got, how many Gorn episodes did we get last season? Like 3?
2.
2, maybe.
Well, there was the really good one where they were running from the Gorn, in the like the dwarf star atmosphere.
Right.
Then there was the second to last one where they ended up killing off Hemmer.
The Gorn babies.
Where the Gorn were on the ship.
Gorn babies.
Yeah. So I think those, and then I think those were the only 2. That like actually had Gorn like actually in the episode as like a direct threat. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, if people liked it, I don't begrudge them for liking it. I can see people liking it. And, it was just, for me, I just, meh. It was just, meh. If the musical numbers were catchier, maybe I would like it more. But for the most part, I endured it because you are my friend and we watched the whole thing. But I honestly,
yes, we did.
I could see myself jumping through or past the musical numbers. I'd probably give it a few minutes and go, okay, this sounds the same, and then skip, and then just go on.
I don't expect I'll feel like watching it again. Unless I want to watch it, like if I'm doing a video or something, and I think it will be relevant. But I mean, there's nothing I disliked about it except what I mentioned earlier about La'an's first. La'an song feels like it runs a little long, but there's nothing I disliked about it. Now that you've said that Bruce Horak was in it, I am a little pissed that they didn't bring back Zombie Hemmer for Uhura's song. I mean, because we joked about that when Uhura was singing her song in engineering.
Yes,
and it was like, man, they should have Zombie Hemmer should come shuffling out from behind one of these pillars and just, try to sing as a zombie. And that would be really funny. Would have completely ruined that song because it's completely contrary to the tone of that song, but would have given me a chuckle.
Get some singing, dancing Gorn.
They let him be. Oh my God. They should do singing, dancing Gorn. And I think I told you this before a couple of weeks ago, because they, the excuse for when all the canon babies start crying about the Gorn are different than they are. The producers all say, well, we haven't seen grown-up Gorn in Strange New Worlds. We've only seen baby Gorn and we've seen Gorn ships, but we haven't seen full-grown Gorn.
See grown-up Gorn.
That's true because because Kirk, was the first to see him or whatever. But if we ever see grown-up Gorn in Strange New Worlds, they should look exactly like they look in TOS. That should be the only thing that they don't update into the aesthetic of the new shows.
They're gonna
literally a guy in a rubber suit.
That's not going to happen.
I know, but I'm saying it should happen, and they should have like 6 or 7 of them in like a chorus line, and they should do like a Gorn,
You just watched a musical episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
I did.
They are not going to be using the Gorn from the original series.
I know, but I'm saying it would be really funny if they did, and if that was the only time they did that. Yeah.
Sure, it would be funny. But I mean, this is going to be a short review. It was for me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's 2 this season that I really would...
You could kind of tell Dr. Mbenga even says I don't sing, and he hardly does. Like he has a couple of lines in a couple of the songs, and for the most part he doesn't sing. So you can kind of tell like the actors among the ensemble who were like, no, I'm good.
Oh, and here's a great one. Here we have an episode where everyone is singing their internal stuff right out loud. It's one of the plot points of the show.
Yes,
where people are singing things out loud. Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, tell me what deep emotional secrets did Ortega sing? What fucking lyrics did they give her?
She sang about how she's the pilot of the ship.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. And you know what? You know what? This is the point I'm at with it.
They're fucking with us. That person that I read about this episode, they're right. The writers are fucking with us now.
This is the point that I'm at with this. The more people complain about it, especially you, the more I hope they give us nothing. The more I hope, because I love Ortegas. I would love an Ortegas episode where they focus on her and we learn more about her as a person. But the more people complain about it, the more I'm like, I hope they give us nothing. I hope she just keeps being the awesome character who flies the ship and has a smart aleck remark every once in a while. And other than that, that's it. Because it thrills me to death the way people are like, why don't we? I need to know her social security number, or I can't relate to her as a character.
If she turns out to be just another fucking Han Solo without any character growth, then she may as well just be another piece of equipment on the goddamn bridge. Sorry, Steve, but that's just it. Why fucking have her around if there's no growth for the character? Right?
I want her to hook up with Sam Kirk.
She's not gonna hook up with anybody, as near as I can tell.
I want it to be revealed in like season 5 that she's been hooking up with Sam Kirk for a long time.
And that they've been deep boning this whole time.
Like Kirk's like, hey, you're gonna take a mustache ride after your shift tonight? And she's like, you know it, stud. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And she's like, what? We've been seeing each other hardcore for like 5 years.
We're married. What?
We have 2 kids. I was pregnant for season 3. You didn't even notice.
Yeah, golly.
Yeah. That's how they should do it.
Don't you guys remember my cancer scare from 3 months ago? What are you talking about, Ortegas?
See, this is the kind of thing that Lower Decks could do if it was a smarter show. They could take advantage of the fact that because Lower Decks only does 10 episodes a season too. So they could allude to like incredibly important character altering events that took place in non-existent episodes.
Sure.
Because we only get 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it could, you could have shit like, pregnancies and marriages and divorces and deaths and, and it's like, it just happened off screen because we only see this much now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want her crippled. I want her to deal with that. I'm sorry, but you can't pilot the ship anymore. I know that was the sum total of your entire personality is that apparently you're the person that pilots the ship. But you can't do it anymore.
You want her to be in a beep chair.
I want her to be in a beep chair, on a beep bed. How about that? Not even in a chair.
A beep iron lung.
I'm just kidding. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
It really did feel like they were fucking with us at this point. Where she goes, I'm the pilot, and that's it. Everyone's singing. It's apparently a security risk because people are singing their innermost thoughts. Ortegas has none.
Ortegas is like, I'm cool. She's like, no worries here, boss.
I have no problem.
I won't sing about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
Okay, well, good for you.
I liked it.
Good for anyone who liked it. I'm not going to begrudge anybody who likes the episode.
I'm sure there are people on both extremes, as there almost always are.
Yeah, probably there are going to be people who didn't like it at all, and they're going to be.
There are the people, there are those people who are going to be like, "Oh my God, it's the word! It's an abomination! It should be expunged from the canon! Oh my God, what have they done to Star Trek?"
What did I call this? The Star Wars holiday special of Star Trek Wars is this episode. Well, oh boy, I can't wait to see what's happening next episode.
Yeah, probably no music. Other than the normal non-diegetic music.
Yeah. What was the deal with doing the Star Trek theme at the end of when they all sang? Remember, they all sang. Everybody sang at the end.
Yeah, everybody sang at the end, and then after it was over, they played like the old school Star Trek theme.
What was the point of that?
Oh.
I'm surprised they didn't sing the lyrics that Roddenberry had written.
They should have had Pike go, what the fuck is that? It's the dumbest song I've ever heard.
I hate that.
Yeah, they should. You know what? they could have done the original lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because that would have been like, I don't know. I feel like that would have been too cutesy, too wink, wink, like, you know.
But
Although,
they
I don't
still
know,
played the theme. I mean,
like,
what was the
no,
point?
but they didn't sing the lyrics. Like, nobody except like the hardest of hardcore Star Trek nerds even knows that there are lyrics, let alone can sing them like I can. So, that would have been like, it would have been the super duper duper hardcore nerds would have been like, squealing and coming in their pants, and everybody else would have been like, what the fuck was that? So, but yeah, so there's going to be the people on the negative extreme, and then there's going to be the people on the opposite extreme that are like, it's the best thing ever. I will say this, even though I liked the episode, didn't love it, but liked it. I'll say the same thing about this that I said about the Lower Decks crossover. Even if I had judged it to be a total disaster, I'm glad they tried it. I'm glad that the show is willing to try stuff. I'm glad that the show is willing to swing for the fences. That's a good quality for any show to have, a Star Trek show or any show. I think it's nice to be like, what, let's try something. Let's go for it. And let's aim high. Let's go for, I think that's really cool. It makes it for a very interesting, very exciting show to watch.
But to me, you know what it feels like?
What does it feel like?
We're out of ideas.
I don't think that's how it it doesn't feel like that to me.
It feels like this should be like a season 7 episode where they're finally gone, okay, fine. We'll satisfy Johnson. We'll do the fucking musical episode that he's been talking about for the last 3 years.
Yeah. It didn't feel that way.
We're talking about a TV show that only does 10 episodes a season, not 24, right?
If the rest of the show this season had felt like they were running on fumes creatively, I would probably agree with you. But the show doesn't feel that way to me this year. It doesn't feel like they're running out of ideas. I mean, it's kind of like, remember when Seinfeld did the backwards episode in, I think it was their last season, where they did, and it was like a really gimmicky episode where the story ran backwards. Like each scene took place. It was like Memento. Like each scene took place before the next scene that you watched.
Yeah.
Or after the next scene that you watched. And it was okay. Like it was, you could tell that they had taken a lot of time to put it together so that it all made sense. It wasn't super funny, but it was like inventive and clever. And it felt like a last gasp of a once great show. You know what I mean? It felt like they were doing, let's do this gimmicky episode that'll get everybody talking, and we'll have some cleverness in it. It's not actually super funny, but we can, put some stuff in it and it'll get people's attention, and, they'll remember that we used to be a really good show.
Yeah.
That's not how this felt to me. This felt like, people have been clamoring for Star Trek to do a musical episode for the last few years, really ever since they rebooted the franchise on Paramount Plus and started doing new shows. People have been like, they should do a musical episode. And then they finally did it, but it doesn't seem like they're running out of ideas to me or anything. Because the rest of the show, regardless of whether you liked this episode or not, the rest of the season for the most part has been really strong. So
yeah, I mean, I have enjoyed it, I guess, for the most part, just not these last two. So I'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, the only one I haven't liked was the first one. And I didn't even hate that. I just thought it was a notch below what we're used to. But everything else since then, I've thought has been good, if not very good. So,
okay.
One more to go, buddy.
Yay.
One more to go.
Are we done?
We'll see if they're gonna kill off the captain's girlfriend, if they're gonna kill off Carol Kane, and killing off engineers is gonna be a running gag in the show.
It's possible. They could kill off a lot of people. Who knows?
Maybe that singing Klingon that Bruce Horak played in this one will come back and he'll be the engineer for the next season.
Oh, sure. Sure. I can
tell you're excited by just the mere possibility.
We'll find out what I don't even know what the next episode is going to be about.
No.
But the last episode,
I bet it's Gorn shit though.
Everyone sang about how they belong on the Enterprise and how they're a crew and how great it is. And didn't I already know that? I didn't need it sung at me, did I?
Stop singing things I already know.
Was the crew having severe doubts that they didn't belong on the Enterprise up until that point? No.
They were all planning on transferring to other
Everyone was there. They had a pending transfer.
All right, we'll be back next week for a review of the season finale.
Yay.
See you then, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.